Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Astraordinary Coffee Chats. I'm Davide di Censo.
And I'm Matteo Barbarossa.
And we are the founders of Astra Coffee. We're here to make your cup of coffee extraordinary. Today we're going to talk about Chemex and V60 filter coffee. Matteo, this is my very favorite way of brewing coffee. I do this every morning. I love my Chemex. I keep all my coffee in there, and through the day I'll just go through and have different cups between meetings. It's fantastic and it's just my tradition. But I'm sure I'm not doing this perfectly right. So I would love to talk today about this extraction method and how to brew my perfect cup of filter coffee. Also of the difference between what would be the actual perfect cup of coffee versus what is achievable for me in the morning between waking up and getting ready for work.
Totally. So this method for brewing the coffee, like V60, like Chemex, nowadays are pretty common and pretty popular. Also thanks to the SCA movement for the Specialty Coffee Association. Then that brought it up again. But in fact, there are really ancient way of extracting coffee. They are related to the beginning of the century. And nowadays they're pretty much famous, and you can brew a really great cup of coffee out of these two methods.
Makes sense. They look less technology rich than espresso machine or even a stovetop.
Yeah, totally. It's just pouring over water. The water passes through the coffee panel and then separate the grinded coffee from the liquid, and that is. So there it is. There is no skyrocket science behind that. But speaking about science, there is a little bit of science applied to coffee extraction, and this regards the ratio that you have to use, the ratio between coffee and water that you have to use to extract the coffee cup that you want. Okay. The first rule that you have to keep in mind is that you want to use 60 grams of coffee for 1 liter of coffee. Okay, they say, 1 liter, I don't drink that much, so I don't want that, so how can...
But I also don't have a scale, so I don't know how to really measure that.
Yeah, totally. You can use this wonderful tool, okay, in order to measure it. That is a tablespoon, okay? And you can really use 1 heaping tablespoon, put all the coffee that you can fit in for each cup that you want to brew. For each cup. What kind of cup? We're speaking about a measurement cup. A measurement cup, it's quite close, okay, to a regular mug. And you can relate 1 heaping tablespoon to 1 mug, okay? But just keep in mind that when you will pour the water over the grinded coffee, the grinded coffee will absorb a little bit of this water. This a little bit means around 20% of the water that you will use to brew the coffee. So maybe put a little bit more of water that the coffee panel will retain, and you will have at the end the right amount of beverage that you want to have.
Makes total sense. Yes. Great. So as I have my coffee measured inside my Chemex or V60 filter, and I have my water ready, how hot should the water be?
Oh, yeah, great question. So the perfect water temperature in Fahrenheit is 194 Fahrenheit. Okay. So this means something around 95 Celsius for who use Celsius also. If you have a kettle with a scale, you put the temperature measure on the kettle. It will be far away more easy to reach the right temperature for the water.
Okay, so I don't want it boiling.
No, you don't want it boiling. But if you do not have that, what you can do? You can bring your water to the boiling temperature, to the 100 Celsius, and let rest the water for something about 15-20 seconds in order to drop off the temperature until 95 Celsius, and then you can use that water to brew your coffee, okay? But just remember this, guys. So water temperature is directly related to the extraction power of the water. When you do your laundry, okay, if you have some really hard stains that you want to wash out from your favorite t-shirt,
usually coffee stains.
Usually coffee stain. So you need to use hot water, okay, and higher temperature of the water in order to wash more your clothes. If it's just a t-shirt that you use one day, but you want to have your favorite t-shirt fresh, maybe you can use also a lower temperature of the water to do your washing machine. So the same things is applied into coffee, because the water temperature, if it is higher, okay, the water will be so much stronger in extracting the coffee. If the water temperature is lower, the water power to extract the coffee, it will be lower, okay? And this will lead to a different result into your coffee cup. Different. It's not that one is the best one or the other one is the worst one. No, they're just different. It depends from your taste.
Is that a way to associate, let's say, a specific type of roasting, light roast, medium roast, dark roast, with the specific temperature of the water, therefore specific extraction?
We enter in an ocean here, okay? I try to keep it simple.
Things get very complex.
Yeah, things here get very complex because you can use very hot water for a very light roasted coffee and try to rebalance the light roasting with the very hot temperature of the water. You can try to use also low temperature water with the light roasting profile and have a very sour coffee cup if you like it, a very fruity coffee cup if you like it, a very gentle coffee cup if you like it. So that's it. So this is depends, okay? It depends really from your palate, from your tastes. There is not a rule here. Somebody can suggest you to use maybe a little bit colder water in order to prevent bitterness into your cup, in order to prevent astringency as a mouthfeel. So yeah, this really depends from your taste. But using a really high temperature water, I do not recommend it because could lead to over extraction of the coffee,
right.
Especially if the coffee is roasted medium dark or dark.
So it sounds really like there are multiple variables here. There is the roasting profile,
Yes.
There is the temperature of the water, there is the amount of coffee you put in. So they all influence
Yes.
how much gets extracted from the coffee beans as the water is in contact with the coffee grounds.
Yeah, totally. Because also the other parameter to have in mind is the contact time of the water over the coffee panel. So this time, if it's very long, so you will extract a lot from your coffee panel.
Right.
So if this time is very short, you will extract less from your coffee panel. So you need to achieve the right grinding set in order to let the water flow with the flow ratio, with the proper flow ratio, in order to have your great cup. This is not really too coarse and not even too fine. Fine grinding, it's not suitable for pour over method because otherwise you will really literally burn your cup and it will be pretty much disgusting.
The contact time between the water and the coffee will be too long.
It will be too long, yes, because you're using the gravity, okay, to extract the coffee.
Right.
You don't use like more pressure than the gravity.
So if the coffee is very packed because it's very fine, it will be hard for the water to go through.
Yeah, totally. So you have to use medium coarse grind in order to brew your coffee.
Great, excellent. So, okay, once we have our coffee to the right level of grind and we are ready with our water at exactly 194 degrees, or maybe slightly more or slightly less, depending on our preferences.
Totally.
We just pour the water on top of the coffee.
Yes, but in a certain way. So the first phase is called blooming phase, okay? So you take your wonderful kettle and now you must feel like Picasso, okay? You want to paint a masterpiece, okay, out of your coffee. And you want to paint this masterpiece going with the concentrical circle from outside to the inside, pouring the water in this direction, okay? Pouring a small amount of water that covers the coffee, but do not let the water pass through the coffee, okay? And when you watch the coffee panel, you will see some bubble.
I just want to wet the coffee at this point.
Yes.
Okay.
So and you will see some bubble. This bubble, it's full of CO2. You remember when we were speaking about roasting and the coffee develop CO2?
The coffee releases
roasting?
CO2.
Yes. So this is a way in order to make the coffee blooming, to release more CO2, okay? Because CO2, when we bring CO2 into the cup, will lead to some bitter aroma, and we don't really want that, so we want the CO2 goes away in order to have the most clean cup as possible.
Got it. Okay, so first thing, release the CO2 through blooming, and then now we are ready to pour the rest of the water into the filter and get our cup of coffee.
Yeah, totally. The blooming phase, it's around 30 seconds. Okay, so pour your water, make sure you cover the entire coffee that you have into your Chemex and wait about 30 seconds. Okay, some water will flow in, that's pretty much correct, and then start to pour in the remaining of the water in concentrical circle, okay? From outside to the inside. One great thing that you can do is rinse the paper filter before putting the coffee in, because if you put the paper filter and the coffee and you start to do all the process, you can feel some paper taste in your coffee. And if you want to avoid this, let's rinse a bit the paper filter, then throw it out the water and put the paper filter again, then the coffee, and then pour your
Sounds
water.
like a pro tip, this one. Great, so let's get started. Let's make a cup of coffee in the Chemex
let's do it.
Show exactly the process.
Cool.
All right, so I have here the paper filter. We're going to add the paper filter right there. We have coffee here, and I'm gonna go grab the kettle with the water. Okay, great. So we just throw away the water that we used to rinse the filter, and now here we have our packet of Astra Coffee. It's the Maestro blend. Let's go open it up. This is already an open one. It's already pre-ground, so I'll let you do it.
Great. So we'll use our favorite tools, that is the heaping tablespoon. You just put it in and take it out. This very beautiful heaping tablespoon that looks like a Picasso tablespoon. And you put it down into
Let's do 2 cups. Maybe.
Yeah, let's do one for me, one for you.
One for me, one for you.
Okay, is another Picasso tablespoon.
Picasso tablespoon.
Let's level it into your Chemex, okay, like in this way, in order to create a more flat panel. One finger or your hand on the top of the kettle, because you don't want
it's always safe
to open it.
Yep.
And start from the outside to the inside, in this way.
So that all the coffee that could be to the sides just goes down.
Goes down to the center.
And this is the blooming phase.
Yes.
So here we're just making the coffee wet, basically.
Yes. So look how many bubbles on the top. Okay. So I'm just waiting for about 30 seconds, and now we are ready to actually extract our coffee. Okay. So in order to do this properly, okay, we need a scale. Okay. But in the morning, who want to use a scale and measure the coffee and measure the time and measure the weight of the water? So we just put water, okay, nice and gently. Do not fill your filter with all the water that you can fill in, and okay, so the time will do the rest. No. So
don't be lazy with it.
Yes, don't be lazy. And when you see that the level of water is dropping down...
What am I looking for in this phase? Like, when am I going to add more water?
Okay, when you see that, like in this case, on the side...
I have coffee on the side.
You have coffee on the side. Yes, like you have a ring on the side. And the coffee and the water level starts to go below the surface of the coffee. Okay. So
rinse it back down.
Rinse it back down, okay, like this.
Got it. And I see this crema coming up. What is that?
Yes, the crema coming up thanks to the protein that are contained into our coffee. Yeah, this is the reason why the crema coming up. So this is also the sign of a fresh roasted coffee, because maybe a little bit old coffee when you in the blooming phase will not do a lot of crema. If it's some white stripes appear, or a different color, okay, on the surface, could be a sign of overextraction.
Oh, overextraction,
Yeah.
meaning that the water is too hot or the coffee has already expressed everything.
Usually it could be one of that, one or another, or both.
And now we wait for all the water to go through the panel, the coffee panel.
Yeah.
And at no point I seen you fill up the whole top of the Chemex with water, right? You just put a little bit at a time.
Yes,
Perfect.
totally. Yeah,
That's already very different from what I do in the morning. Would there be any reason why I would want to add more ground coffee at this point? I shouldn't.
No, you should not. You should totally not. Otherwise, you're gonna change the entire extraction, okay? And you need to add more water. But on the top, you will have fresh coffee. On the bottom, you will have exhausted coffee. So you don't want to brew that, or you brew fresh coffee, or you continue to brew the coffee that you're brewing right now, okay?
Makes sense. Great, so now we have our brewed coffee and we're ready to pour it into our cups. Is there anything else that we might want to do in this phase after we are done with our coffee filter?
Yes, so a tricks that you can use in order to obtain a smoother cup, a lighter cup, and maybe a sweeter cup is the bypass techniques, okay? What bypass means? You practically bypass the filter with the coffee and you add hot water directly to the brewed coffee, okay?
Doesn't this dilute the coffee in a way, making it less enjoyable?
No, totally not. So it depends what you did in your extraction, okay?
That makes
sense. It will not dilute the coffee to the point that this is not really good cup of coffee. It will smooth a bit the coffee, okay? So you add just a bit of water that is not extracted into with the coffee, and this will create, believe me, a bit of magic to your cup. Once you do that, you take your Chemex and you turn it around, okay? So you want to mix it up for sure, but you also want the coffee have some intake of oxygen. Okay. This will make you feel more aromas while you will drink your coffee cup. Okay, this is enough, and let's pour it.
There we have our 2 cups of coffee.
Yeah, totally.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Matteo, for showing us how to make a perfect cup of V60 or Chemex filter. We'll go ahead and enjoy this fantastic cup of coffee, and we'll see you in the next episode of our Astraordinary Chats. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and if you have any questions, post them down here.
And let us know your experience while preparing your coffee with the tips and tricks that we suggested to you.
Also, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more, hit the subscribe button so you can stay in touch.